The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
Hello, this is your host Gerard with the very first episode of Florida's Fresh Mix on the Florida Podcast Network. Woo-hoo! This show is a random mix of Florida's freshest personalities to keep you in the know with Florida's latest. And this episode is brought to you by our amazing launch sponsor, Mainline Marketing. Please listen in. You will not be disappointed.
Hello, this is Amber, the production assistant for the Florida Podcast Network, and your host, Gerard, and I are excited to be welcoming the first Fresh Mix guest to the show, Scott Firester. Producer Jaime, founder of the Florida Podcast Network, personally knows Scott because she worked with him and his wife, Mystic Michaela, when they launched their podcast, Know Your Aura. Now, many people know Mystic Michaela. We wanted to give Scott a chance to let the people know who he is, the man behind the Mystic.
So, Amber, I've been really looking forward to discussing this with you, and I'm also really looking forward to our conversations ahead of these episodes because don't get shy or embarrassed, but you're the one that puts all the legwork behind how these things are done, and so much appreciated. And when you presented me with the opportunity to interview Scott for our pilot episode, I was super psyched because I'm a nerd and I know something about most things, but I know literally nothing about reading people's auras. And I've heard of people that are psychics and, stuff like that. But this really was fascinating to me.
When we had Scott on the episode, because we recorded this a while back, he was just very honest about his role. And he does kind of take the passenger seat in their whole business, even though he is the one that helps out with managing Mystic Michaela. And he's the one that gets the guest on their shows and does a bunch of other things. But he was so, humble in just his role in the business. And it was really cool to hear. So this was definitely a great first episode for sure. And I'm really excited for everyone to hear it. And Gerard, you recently got a special surprise package in the mail from a certain special sponsor that we have. Would you like to tell everyone what you got?
I would love to, because I got this dope new microphone for this podcast, thanks to our amazing sponsor, Mainline Marketing. It's a Shure MV7 podcasting mic. I want to make sure I get that right because I would suggest it to anybody. It's insane. It looks space aged. I've never seen anything like it. It has these cool lights on it and the sound is amazing. I can hear myself, but not in an annoying way, in a very crisp, clear way.
Yeah, and to our listener, you'll definitely hear a difference between Gerard's voice now.
Here again is my voice now.
And Gerard's voice in the interview, which, like I said, we recorded a while back. In fact, I'm using the same model of microphone that you used for this interview we're about to get to. So you may already be able to tell the difference in sound quality between my mic and Gerard's brand new Shure MV7 provided by Mainline. The quality of sound from the Shure MV7 is just so superior, and you'll hear how much better Gerard's sound quality has been during this introduction versus during the upcoming interview. So speaking of the interview, let's get to Gerard's very first conversation on the Fresh Mix with the man behind the Mystic, Mr. Scott Firester. Enjoy.
Hello, Scott. Scott Firester. How's it going today?
Fantastic. Hey, Gerard. How are you?
I'm doing well. Every time I see your last name, I want to say Firestarter. I'm sure that's not the first time you've heard that. And I've got, visions of Drew Barrymore as a kid setting things on fire for some reason. I have no idea.
Yeah, that was my entire childhood. High school, middle school. Everyone called me Firestyle.
Well, I certainly won't. So how about that? So listen, I'm super jazzed about this interview. This is the inaugural interview for my show, and I can't think of anyone better to start things off in the most interesting, funny, exciting way possible. There's so many topics I want to get into. So why don't you just give me a rundown of what exactly that your wife does for a living, Mystic Michaela, and then I want to kind of explore how your marriage kind of fits into that. It's obvious that you guys have a very symbiotic relationship. You're not just arm candy to her, to a famous celebrity, Mystic, but you actually contribute to her as a business manager and support system, and you're very integrated in the support of her business.
Well, first of all, Gerard, that was like probably the greatest intro I've ever had in my life. But my wife is a celebrity aura reader. I guess you can call her a psychic medium. That's probably the term that people would know best. She has the ability, I guess the rare ability, to see colors around people, and she has the ability to interpret those colors. So people come from, all over the country, all over the world, celebrities, they seek her out because they want to know their colors. It is pretty incredible. I don't know how she does it. Many years ago, I wasn't a believer in any of these things, but I've just seen and heard so much that she's done, and so much that she's done for people. She's also a medium, so she can connect people with loved ones that have passed. It's just incredible what she can do.
I've also heard her described as an empath, so it seems that she kind of wears many hats. And can you describe what an empath is?
There's an empath and there's people that are empathic. An empath is actually someone who could actually feel someone else's feelings. So, let's say you're watching TV and like you ever see those dog commercials that come on and the sad puppies and they all need to be adopted.
Right.
Like,
they're all late at night, make you want to spend money. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I see that commercial and I feel bad for the dogs and I move on to the TV show that comes on next. Right. She'll see that commercial and have to turn it off because she could actually feel the pain of those animals. Again, an empath would be someone who could actually feel the feelings of others. So she could actually jump into someone's energy and feel what they're feeling, good and bad too.
Well, that sounds like a blessing and a burden. I think the first time that I heard the term empath was I was watching this show on Netflix called Sense8, and I just thought it was something kind of made up for the show. I mean, it's a great show. Since then, I've learned that this is a real thing, and here's another example of that. But let's talk about this aura reading, because to be honest, I've never heard of that before either, to be able to see someone's colors, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, how does that work? Do people kind of, and pardon me if I'm asking stupid questions, but
no, you're fine.
Do people, totally do people walk around and they just kind of have a glow on them and she just sees it? Do they have to be in her presence? Can she do it off of a picture? How does that work?
Yeah, no, actually, those are great questions. And I get asked those all the time. Basically, the first thing I could say is she actually thought that everybody sees colors around people. So one day she actually asked me, she said, "You see that color around that person, right? What color do you see?" And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't see any colors around anyone ever. So I don't know exactly how, because I'm not in her brain. So I don't know exactly how she sees it. But yes, she would need the person to be there, or she can do it by a picture. If she has a picture, she needs to see eyes in that picture. The aura can change. So if you give her a picture, it's best to give her a recent picture so she can tell you what the colors you are at that time.
Interesting.
If you give her like an older picture, she might be picking up energy from that time period. Some of your colors, they're innate to you. They're authentic to you. They don't change. But through your lifetime, you could pick up a color, drop a color, things like that.
Right. That's the interesting thing about your podcast, is that it kind of explains you're kind of born with an aura or with a color, maybe two, but you can kind of suppress it or hide it if you're kind of being your inauthentic self. Right. Am I getting that right?
I could just give you the example of myself. My aura is red and blue. I'm pretty balanced right now, she tells me. So there hasn't been a color that's popped in there. But at times she said like a green could pop in. I don't think I've ever had like yellow pop in or purple. They're just not colors that I guess I come into contact with. With my aura, she basically says that it needs to be balanced between that red and the blue. And sometimes the blue gets too much or the red gets too much. And that's where I have my issues. But other people could have another color pop in there that's not supposed to be there. Honestly, I'll tell you, I've looked for other people doing this. I've tried to find it. She's the only person that I've found or that I know of that can tell inauthentic colors in an aura.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So I've heard Michaela say that your red is an intense vibe. Yes. And so to describe what makes you intense, and I mean, did she nail it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, she's got me down. She knows me better than I know myself. Mm-hmm. Like she could just jump into my energy. She knows what I'm going to do before I probably do it. The red is like the leadership qualities, the creativity, the management, all of that. So if I'm on a roll and I'm, getting things done and, making calls and making good business decisions, that's probably my red is probably shining at that time. My blue is the other thing that, if I'm kind of like kind of down in the dumps a little bit, or, I'm feeling a little down on, what's going on, then the blue can come out a little bit more. If I'm not really doing exactly what I should be doing, then I'll get more blue in the aura. It'll get a little fuzzy, she says. But typically I'm best when I get that balance going.
Do you know when you're in balance, or does she have to tell you when you're in balance?
I'll ask her, from time to time, or even on the show, I'll be like, hey, how's my aura today? And, the other day I was telling like kind of like a sadder story on the podcast. And, she said there was a lot of cracks in my red and like blue was coming through. So, she could see it, but I feel pretty balanced right now. I don't know.
Well, there has to be a lot of trust there, because on the one hand, what a resource you have at your disposal, kind of ask, hey, how am I doing? But at the same time, you have to really trust her, because, she could use those forces for evil with you. I mean, particularly, she could tell you, hey, I think you need to get me some roses because you're treating me pretty blue.
Yeah, I mean, she definitely, she's a purple indigo, and she knows exactly what to say to me to get me to do what she really wants. So I mean, as a red, I'm supposed to be the one calling the shots, but I think behind the scenes, she's really calling the shots.
Now, what does it mean that you and your wife are not, quote unquote, twin flames? What exactly does that mean? And you seem pretty upset about it.
Okay. Well, again, all this stuff is also fairly new to me as well. But I guess a twin flame is like two people that are, I don't even know what it is, but it's like two people that are so like have such a passion for each other. But she tells me we're not twin flames. It's actually bad, she says, to be twin flames, because like they never work out. They always like love each other and then hate each other, love each other and hate each other. Right. She tells me we're soulmates. So that means we're bonded, I don't know, by our souls. I guess in all the lifetimes we'll be together. That's what she told me.
That's great. You guys have such a great vibe on your show. You can definitely feel the love there. It oozes through. And so I'm just curious, because a lot of people, particularly married couples, when you mix kind of business with the love, sometimes it causes a lot of problems. But you guys seem to have an extremely symbiotic relationship, using your skill sets not only off the mic, behind the scenes with all the business stuff, but also on the mic. So why don't you tell me a little bit about what it's like being married and playing those dual roles? Yeah,
well, actually, I mean, I was a teacher for 20 years, and this is actually the first year I'm not teaching. So I'm home all the time now. We definitely get along pretty well. And again, if we did it in aura color, I think our auras match up pretty good for compatibility. Again, she's purple and indigo, and I'm a red blue. So like the indigo for her gives way to kind of my red, and then my red kind of helps out her indigo. There are times that we kind of disagree on, what way we should go with the business, or maybe, if we're trying to book a guest and we might say, I want that guest, you want, we do have little things here and there, but for the most part, I mean, we kind of just stay in our lanes. And again, I mean, like every couple, I'm not going to say that we never have an argument or never disagree on things. We do, but we're able to kind of just overcome that fairly quickly and just move on. And if I make a mistake, I'm saying, hey, I'm sorry, let's just move on. Or she's definitely like that. She's more like that than I am. But I don't know. I mean, we've been together 20 years and it's fantastic. We just really complement each other.
Wow, 20 years. So did you know about her gift before you guys got married? And did you believe it?
Well, she does come from a psychic family. So I always knew her mom was a psychic. And her mom, we used to live in Buffalo, New York. And this is going back about, let's say, 12 years ago. And Megan, Mystic Michaela, she never talked about it. Once in a while, she would say something, or I used to take her to the racetrack to try to get a winner. But other than that, we really didn't talk about her being, psychic or gifted. We only talked about her mother being psychic and gifted. We really didn't talk about it until we moved down to Florida, and she kind of got out of her mom's shadow. And then she started, just saying things and doing it a little bit here and there. So I didn't know it at the beginning, but I did accept it. I was very accepting of her. I was actually really scared at the beginning of her mom. I was terrified of her mom. Because I saw things that I don't know that you should see, I mean, crazy stuff. Like I saw a statue just go across the table without anyone touching it. And that kind of freaked me out.
So through her mom, you had already kind of been prepped for this type of mystical, unexplainable phenomena. And so it wasn't very shocking.
Yeah, I mean, I knew it from the start. I think they might have told me on the second or third date that her mom's a psychic, and I got freaked out. But, I accepted it. She told me things that I don't know that anyone would have known. So I did loosely believe in it. Again, a red aura is always going to be a little bit skeptical of these things. I'm still skeptical of psychics in general. I just believe in my wife 100%. So, I believe in her. There's no way she'd be like making up a whole scam and all these things. So, but other psychics, I really don't believe in it all that much.
Hello, this is producer Jaime, founder of the Florida Podcast Network, here to thank our launch partner, Mainline Marketing. Great equipment can make the difference between an ordinary podcasting experience and one that is immersive and inspiring. The sound quality produced with the Shure MV7 podcasting microphone is simply far superior to other options on the market. The voice isolation technology will help you sound great, even when you're not in an expensive studio. Gerard records his podcast sitting at the glass-top dining table in his apartment, and you would have never known. But not only is the sound quality simply unreal, but the Shure MV7 podcasting mic is very easy to use with 2 output options. So whether your show format and setup call for you to plug your microphone into the USB port right on your computer or to use it with an XLR cable into your mixer, you'll find the setup is easy. The Shure MV7 sound quality is top-notch, and it's easy to use, versatile, and also looks really great for your social media shots. So thank you again to Mainline Marketing for providing this wonderful opportunity for Gerard to level up his podcasting with the Shure MV7. Having won over 40 various achievement awards, Mainline Marketing has been the go-to audiovisual manufacturer's industry rep since 1987. They can be trusted to bring you the best. Visit mainlinemarketing.com today and partner with them. And be sure once again to check out the MV7 podcasting microphone from Shure by going to shure.com. That's SHURE.com. Shure, turning a passion for making great microphones into an obsession.
So, other than the fact that you trust your wife implicitly, that's pretty obvious.
Yes.
100%. Was there a moment or an event where you just became a believer, or did that kind of slowly happen over time the more you spent time with her?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's over time. She started to practice, actually doing it for payment. I think about 6 years ago, something around there. And she was just doing a couple here and there. And she would do mostly email readings. I was teaching at the time. I was doing my thing. She'd say, oh, I had a few readings this week. And I'd say, oh, that's great, honey. Good job. Keep going. That's fantastic. And then one day she had the email open, the Gmail was open, and I was just kind of reading through, I just wanted to see what this was all about. And the stuff that she was getting through just email and pictures about people, and then the responses that the people were giving her were just so incredible. And I was like, wait, what is going on here? As I was reading through them, I'm like, how did she know this from this picture? And it just was blowing my mind that she was able to do that. And, at that point, I'm like, my red kicks in and my business mind kicks in, and I had to talk with her about it. But, it was probably a good 6 months or so, of her just doing it. And I was just like, okay, that's great, honey. That's fantastic. Keep going.
No, that's great. And is she able to kind of turn her gift on and off? How does that work? I mean, is it, I could imagine, her walking into a store. She just wants to, let's say, buy groceries and just mind her own business. Does she walk by someone and they have a really bad aura and then she feels compelled to tell them? How does that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, one thing about her, she'll really never go up to anyone and tell them good or bad. I've heard stories of psychics coming up to people and saying, this is your energy or blah. She won't do anything like that. It's hard for her to turn off. If she's in a party or, like you said, a grocery store and there's a lot of people around, she will pick up the energy of the people and she will try to turn it off. And earlier in the interview, you said, maybe it's a gift or maybe it's I don't want to put words in your mouth. A curse. Yeah. It is a little bit in a way, but I think she tries to turn it off the best she can when in public or at a party. Sometimes it's tough with her friends because she just wants to be Megan. She doesn't want to be Mystic Michaela, and she doesn't want to read your boyfriend's picture or whatever. She just wants to be. Some people have a hard time separating her from that. They just want to always know, hey, what do you get on this person? What do you get on that person? But that's work for her. If you're a doctor, you don't want to be asked all day long about, the different diseases or whatever, your different treatments and things like that. So it's the same thing for her. It's hard for her sometimes to go out in public or go out with friends and things like that. And she, being indigo, she just kind of sometimes just needs to spend some time by herself or just with the kids or whatever, things like that.
Well, you mentioned your kids. My understanding is that you've got 2 daughters and one of them actually shares the gift. Is that right?
Yeah. My oldest, Brianna, she's a red and purple aura. She can see colors around people. She's, just starting out. She works with Michaela to kind of try to hone the skills. She can't see the inauthentic colors. So she might see someone as purple and blue, but she can't tell that one of the colors might be inauthentic. or there should be another color there or something like that. So none of that she can do at this point, but they do work together. And of course, my wife is very supportive of her if she wants to do it, but she's 13 and I don't know how into it she is at the moment.
So I just find this fascinating because you must, run into a ton of skeptics. And particularly from what you're telling me, Michaela's gift is a very specific niche within the spiritual world.
It's just what she's known for, but she can do the other stuff as well.
So then how do you guys react when people either write to you or they say to you to your face, you're a bunch of charlatans, it's just, you're full of crap. I'm sure they've said much worse things, but how do you guys react to that?
I guess, to be honest, I don't really hear that stuff too much anymore. I think in the beginning when she would do readings, she'd get a little bit more of that kind of stuff. But basically my thing is, okay, if you don't have to believe it, I'm not going to try to make you believe it. It's totally up to you. I never try to sell anyone on it. I don't tell anyone, hey, your energy's bad, you got to get a reading, or anything like that. So we really don't come into too much contact anymore with those people. I'm sure people like in the outside world that don't deal with us say that stuff all the time. I mean, I say that stuff about some of the people out there, but we don't really come into too much contact anymore with people questioning her abilities or skills. I'm trying to think of the last time, and I really can't. When she was starting out in the beginning, she had some tougher readings where people would kind of question it more. But now people, they know of her, they heard her on her podcast, and they come in with open arms. So, we're really blessed that way.
Well, Scott, you're inspiring me to do something that I didn't think I would do for quite some time, which is to throw something out into the ether, which is that I sympathize with how Michaela must feel to a degree, because I've been lucid dreaming since I was in college. The number of people I told you could count on one hand, because I just think that people would look at me very, very strangely. And it's very hard to convince people that this is what you can do.
Well, I don't even know what that is. What can you tell me what that is?
In its simplest form, you go to sleep and you dream and you know that you're dreaming, which gives you basically unlimited power to do whatever you want in your dreams. And so you kind of have to unteach yourself certain things that you've learned your whole life about, like physics in particular, to know that you can levitate things and whatever. It sounds crazy, but here publicly, I'm going to announce that this is something I can do. So, take that.
We did an episode on astral travel. Is that anything to do with that?
Yes, it's very similar. People get them confused, but they're very similar concepts. So there you go.
Okay. Yeah, we did a whole episode on astral travel, and we did an episode on astral sex, and I still don't get it myself. I don't remember any dreams I ever have, but that's pretty cool that you can do that.
What hobbies do you and Michaela share that have literally nothing to do with mystical, spiritual stuff? What else do you guys have in common?
That's another great question. It seems like our whole lives are now, this business really does consume everything. It seems like this is all we do. But if we had to get away, we like to, kayak, canoe, things like that. We used to do a lot more hiking. I think we got to get back to some of these things. Things like that. We have the kids, so basically whatever the kids want to do, that's what we do now.
When we're talking about you going on vacation and getting away, I'm just wondering how you would describe her level of celebrity. Can you guys go places without getting recognized? Does she get recognized? How does that work?
Yeah, we could go places. A lot of it's our voice. I wear a lot of Know Your Aura t-shirts or Mystic Michaela t-shirts, and people will come up to us. And I don't think we're at the level yet. Who knows? Maybe we never will be. I don't know. We're she's recognizing stuff. She also tries to keep the lowest profile possible when she goes out. So actually, what someone the other day said, hey, I saw you guys. We were in Jupiter, we're at the beach, and someone reached out to her and said, I saw you at the beach in her Instagram, but she didn't come over to say hello or anything like that.
Well, you guys might just be in that sweet spot where, you're famous, but not too famous.
Yeah. Yeah. I honestly, I have no idea.
Maybe you don't think about it too much, which is good.
Yeah. I don't even.
Are we too famous? I've had such a great time talking to you. I do have 2 final questions for you.
Sure.
First of all, what the heck is a bunny tail?
Oh my God. Okay.
You said nothing was off limits, so
no, it's totally fine. I've even talked about this. So at the beginning, when we were trying to get sponsors, one of her clients has this thing. She still has the business. It's called the back blade, and it's basically like this huge razor, and it kind of just gets all your body hair off. So basically, I have hair, in that spot on your lower back. They call it the bunny tail.
Okay. I cannot relate to that, but okay.
Yeah. So I'm not like hairy anywhere else. So I needed, because we're doing it as a sponsor, I needed to shave something. So we shaved the bunny tail. Megan says it's not too bad. It's not too bad.
Well, I'm a nerd and I like to learn something new every day. And I just did, much to my chagrin.
Yeah.
The other random thing I wanted to ask you was that I heard that the way that Michaela became comfortable with working with my sister on her show was that she saw a picture of my sister and read her aura and
100%.
And decided that my sister has a great aura, which she does. So I'm definitely not surprised by that. But I'm not sure if Michaela remembers more about what she read into my sister. I'm very curious.
I think she's blue or indigo, one of those. Basically, any kind of time I do like a business deal or I get involved in something, she will try to find the picture, or we'll try to find the picture, and she'll tell me beforehand if it's going to work out or not, if this is someone that we can work with or not work with. So when I was looking to, because I didn't know what I knew what podcasts were because she had been a guest on podcasts, but I had no idea how to set up a podcast or tape a podcast. I still don't know how to do any of that stuff. I had all the equipment. I think I told your sister this at the beginning. I had all the equipment ready for the podcast. It sat in my room for 6 months because I was terrified to figure out how it worked.
Right.
But when I showed her the picture of Jaime, I said, "Hey, what do you think of this? She's got this company, Flintstone Media. She does the podcast setup. Should I reach out to her?" She's like, "Yes, that's going to work." I always ask what's their color so I could kind of know what angle to come at them from as well. So I do have like a little bit of an advantage that way. But she said, yeah, she's blue. She'd work with us, for the podcast.
I'm assuming you have some specific episodes on those colors. I've seen some on other colors and figure out more about my sister because she's still a mystery to me. It's just very multifaceted and
she's awesome. We owe our whole start with the podcast to her. We think so highly of her.
As do I.
Now my blue's coming out. See, now you got my blue coming out.
Well, this has been really great, Scott. It's been such a pleasure. But before we wrapped up, I just wanted to ask you if you have any events or anything else coming up that you want to promote while you're here with me on the mic.
We have our Know Your Aura podcast with Mystic Michaela. We have our Facebook group, Mystic Michaela Spiritual Family. That's where we launch all our events, all our things with the podcast or readings, the whole 9 yards. So Mystic Michaela Spiritual Family on Facebook. And the Know Your Aura podcast with Mystic Michaela. Don't follow me on Instagram. I don't even know if I have Instagram. Follow her. Yeah.
Right.
So, there's no reason to follow me on Instagram. Follow Miss Michaela. She's got the big following on Instagram.
All right. Excellent. Well, listen, Scott, it's been a total pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gerard.
Wow, what a great interview with Scott Firester. I have to say, I went into this thinking that the interview would be about aura readings, which I've never heard about, and we would talk about all her other psychic, spiritual abilities, and we would end up delving into different aspects of psychic phenomenon, etc. And all of that is fascinating. I guess you'll either believe it or not. I'm starting to think maybe there's something to this. Maybe she actually can see people glow, like Last Dragon. I don't know if you guys are old enough to know Last Dragon, but it's like one of my favorite movies of all time. It's like a black kung fu movie, okay? So we all watched it, and he would glow. If you were the master at kung fu, you would glow. That's how I picture Mystic Michaela seeing people, and they're glowing, although, they're not doing kung fu. That's what I expected the interview to be talk about all the glowing and all that stuff, and it would be kind of lighthearted, whatever. But they're serious about this. And it makes me want to look more into it. I've never heard of this before, aura reading. I wonder what she would say about my aura. I have no idea. Maybe I don't want to tell her about my aura. Well, certainly not in front of my sister. At the end of the day, my fresh take has really nothing to do with her aura readings and has to do with modern day marriage. I'm sitting here listening to this guy who, is the business manager for this woman who's a celebrity. She has celebrities come to her to read their auras. And he's the money man. He books everything. He's just cool to just be laying back in a cut and, let my wife do her thing. And their love is palpable. You watch this show and they're just totally, the back and forth is just so organic. It's amazing. And you can see that he admires his girl. He loves his woman and he supports her. From what I can tell, there's no tension. They say don't mix, money and love and whatever. It looks like they're mixing it up pretty well. It gives me hope. It inspires me that the modern day economy where women are taking the reins as far as following their own passions. More and more, they're getting out there and exploiting their own gifts. They can branch out and do what they really love. And don't let society tell you what to do, girl. And he is there. He's got her back. And he seems like a ride or die dude. I appreciate that. This looks like a very supportive, symbiotic marriage. He stays in his lane. She does her thing. And I gotta love the humility. He walks around wearing T-shirts calling himself Mr. Michaela. It reminds me of when JFK and his wife were taking a trip to Paris in 1961. And he made a joke saying, I'm the man that accompanied Jacqueline Kennedy to Paris. And everyone laughed because it was a role reversal. That's how I felt listening to him. He supports her. He's Mr. Michaela. Well, I'm hoping that they can get away from the madness of the aura readings and all the psychic stuff and spend some quality time together every once in a while, do some kayaking and canoeing and hiking together, because I'm sure that they appreciate their alone time. And that is my takeaway. And I hope that you will join me on more inspiring, insightful episodes of the Fresh Mix podcast. For details and notes about today's show and our guest, please go to freshmixpodcast.com. I'd really love your feedback, both on today's guest and on my fresh take. The Florida Podcast Network has a closed Facebook group exclusively for superfans of their shows, like Florida's Fresh Mix. Just search for FPN Insiders on Facebook to leave us comments, complain about, I don't know, all the Florida men, and get early scoops, contests, and other special treats. Many thanks to our amazing launch partner, Mainline Marketing. You'll note again just how much better I sound now than I did on the interview. It's palpable. And that's because now I'm back on the Shure MV7 and it sounds so much better. If you're in the market for great audio equipment, be sure to check out mainlinemarketing.com or find their info in today's show notes. And be sure to visit all the great shows on the Florida Podcast Network. You can find them at floridapodcastnetwork.com. Keep catching who's fresh in the Florida Mix with Florida's Fresh Mix podcast.